Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Anybody? He picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome. This is Wacky Wednesday on the Arrowhead Addict channel. I'm the blog father, Adam Best. As always, I'm joined by the golden voice of Sterling Holmes. Sterling, all is quiet on the Chiefs front, and nothing happened at the trade deadline. I heard a little bit of the show yesterday, but I'm excited to talk to you about it. Just first off, overarching thoughts.
I'm disappointed. I shaved my mustache.
So
in solidarity, I don't think I'm muted. Best. I can hear myself very well. That might be on your end, but I shaved my mustache in honor of solidarity of the Chiefs not doing anything, because I am disappointed. I went in disposable razor and all. I actually used Atlas. It was great. But I went in and shaved my mustache, and it was sad, disappointing, just like the Chiefs making no moves at the trade deadline.
Mustache remains. I don't know what was up with that technical glitch now, but I can hear you loud and clear now. We've got an interesting show for you guys today. We're going to talk about the Chiefs' decision not to make a deadline deal and the outlook for after the bye week. But first, a little bit of business.
Yeah, obviously NFL is right here, but I've been rocking some underdog on NBA, a ton of underdog on NBA. I think it's super, super fun. So it's not just for football, but it is super easy. All you have to do is pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. NBA, it's points, rebounds, assists. It is absolutely fun. It is great. And you get your picks right, you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. Again, super easy. All it is higher or lower. I've been doing a lot of NBA, a lot on the 76ers, lower on a lot of Embiid rebounds. He's not rebounding at all right now, which is a very weird thing. VJ Edgecombe was great early on. Tyrese Maxey, if you've been going higher on Tyrese Maxey points, you're doing a very, very good job. Same thing with Travis Kelce pass yards. Travis Kelce has exceeded those almost every single week. For those that don't know, Travis Kelce is still leading all tight ends in the NFL as in receiving yards at age 36. So that's been a nice thing to play on underdog. And you can do it. All you have to do is download the app today and sign up with promo code Arrowhead Addict to score $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play with your first $5. That's promo code Arrowhead Addict. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado, 14 games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_HTML for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Can show with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call a 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. I needed a glass of water next to me, and I didn't have one, and I just ate some soup with some chicken and some couscous, and that is very difficult to talk fast when you have some couscous that you just crushed.
Man, what's going on today? My dog, who normally is an angel during podcast, these last 2 or 3 podcasts, she has just been harassing me. I think she's just not happy with the Chiefs being 5-4 is the only explanation I have, and I think that's the same sentiment across most of Chiefs Kingdom. I think different fans and analysts are responding to it differently. I personally am not panicking. I think there is a lot of panic out here on these Chiefs Kingdom streets, though. So let's jump in and analyze the quiet trade deadline that frankly has some people freaking out and people like me, I'm a little disappointed. I'm a little concerned. I think they'll figure it out because that's what the Kansas City Chiefs do during the regular season. But let's discuss. The Breece Hall trade, it sounds like there is an impasse between the Jets and the Chiefs. The Chiefs wanted to give up a 4th rounder. That was their kind of limit. The Jets were holding firm at a 3rd. I have a hard time believing that some kind of compromise couldn't be reached. How do you see this, Sterling?
Brett Veach has a price, and he does not exceed that price. He's shown this time and time again. He did it with Orlando Brown Jr. He did it with Tyreek Hill. He did it with trying to think of a couple of other explanations that he's done this with. He will hold firm. If he thinks it's only worth this, he will only give you that. Again, he will trade your ass. If not, he did it with Tyreek. He said, Orlando Brown Jr., go find another gig, and he didn't do it. So for me, I don't disagree with what Brett Veach did. I think giving a 3rd rounder for 8 games of a running back who's never gone over 1,000 yards, by the way, is absurd. I think it's absurd. That is way too high of a price. And you know how I know it's too high of a price? No one else in the NFL did it. No one else did it. That right there should tell you all you need to know. Again, I'm not saying Breece Hall doesn't make the Chiefs better. He does. But you also have to realize that then means you have to turn around and pay him, or you literally just wasted a 3rd-round draft pick. The Chiefs don't pay running backs. We know this. So you were literally getting 8 games for a 3rd-round draft pick. Would I like him better than, let's say, like Wanye Morris or Lucas Niang? Yeah. Would I like it better than Leo Chenal or Noah Williams? Hell no. That's kind of what we're doing here. Yeah, you're not going to be 100%, but you have to take that into the equation. And oh, yeah, they've already lost a 6th-round draft pick this year. They lost, a 6th round next year because of Derek Nottie. They're behind in the draft pick game, whether you want to admit it and like it or not. That is the truth. That is the reality. What are you going to do? Have 5 draft picks while you're trying to rebuild? Like, at least some of the moving pieces? Because, by the way, McDuffie's going to have to get paid or traded. Jalen Watson last year of his contract. Leo Chenal last year of his contract. Drew Tranquill probably last year of his contract. I mean, there are a lot of holes that you're going to have to try and get fixed. You're not going to just sit there and give up a 3rd rounder for 8 games of a running back. This team has shown time and time again they're not going to do that. And by the way, why are we acting like Breece Hall's Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs? He has never gone over 1,000 yards in his entire NFL career. Again, there's a reason why 31 other teams did not give up that draft to acquire him. It's absurd.
All right. I just could not disagree with that point more because, first of all, you got to take a lot of those teams out of the equation because they already have running backs or they aren't contenders. So they're not going to be interested in Breece Hall. The fact of the matter is that the Chiefs stood more to gain by acquiring Breece Hall than any other team in the NFL. Any other contender, certainly. The value over replacement for Breece Hall coming in and replacing Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, if you look at this, Breece Hall is first in explosive run rate. Pacheco is in the bottom 5. They have the exact same perfect run block rate. I mean, you can see this. And I think the flaw in the argument there is that Breece Hall, the receiver, the receiving back, the dual purpose back, the fact that you're not telegraphing what you're doing with him, that he is one of the best receiving backs in the NFL. That is the real value, the surplus value of Breece Hall. It's not just that he's a grinder back that can get over 1,000 yards, because if you look at the last time Mahomes won MVP, he had a running back catch 56 balls for 512 yards in Jerick McKinnon. A very efficient season. It boosted the entire offense when there wasn't, frankly, a lot of talent at the wide receiver position. I think that is a key component of the Andy Reid offense. I think that's something that a lot of people are missing in this conversation. They don't have that right now. Brashard Smith is a fine receiver, but when he's out there, they're not running the ball. And when Pacheco and Kareem Hunt are out there, they're probably not checking down. And if they are, it's going to be a minimal gain or a drop. Man, and again, the whole point about the 31 other general managers, most contenders have a good running back already. Detroit, Baltimore, Buffalo, you just go down the list. Seattle, they all have good
Chargers
running
really
backs.
need a running back right now.
They're going to get Omari and Hampton back.
And he was buns before injury. Patriots really need a running back.
They have, and they think Travion Henderson and Omari and Hampton, rookies usually have better. They have better.
That Travion Henderson, they won't play him.
I don't know. Rookies generally have much better second half of the season than first half of the season. And that's what I would say about Hampton and Henderson. And I just also think it's not really questionable that the Chiefs, like, they have arguably the worst running back room in the league. So how much they could upgrade, it's just not even comparable to any other contender.
I just don't understand this conversation of 8 games of a running back or trying to trade for a defensive lineman. If you're upset about a defensive lineman, which is where I land, which is why I was disappointed that no trade was done, then yeah, I think we can be on the same page. I am a little upset that there was not a defensive lineman brought to Kansas City, whether it's defensive tackle or an edge rusher. That does make a lot of sense. Whether it's Devondre Sweat, Calais Campbell, all of that, understandable. Third rounder for 8 games of Breece Hall, who, as we've seen time and time again, the Chiefs are not going to extend. I know folks in the chat want them to. I wouldn't say no to it. Around 11 to 12 million per year. I get it. That's what the going rate would be. The Chiefs have not done that. They've had opportunities and have said no. So why would we think they would all of a sudden change? They're not going to change. All that for a guy who you are going to sit back and get 12 touches a game from, because that's how Andy Reid operates. It's like bringing in Joshua Uche. He might be really good, as we're seeing with the Eagles, but if he's not a schematic fit, then what's the difference? Again, defensive line actually would have made a big difference for this team. Breece Hall, sure, would have been a slight upgrade. I get it. He's better than Kareem Hunt.
Slight?
And the amount of usage he would get in the grand scheme of things, slight. The offense is still really good. We were just talking a week ago that this is one of the best offenses in all of the NFL. We've talked and understood the entire year the defensive line is one of the worst in the entire NFL. And that's actually hurt the defense. We've seen it time and time again in the Chargers game. We saw it in, obviously, the Bills game. We saw it in the Jacksonville game. Like, at that point, would a better run game would that have been the difference in the Bills game? Would that have made them win in the Chargers game? Would that have made them win the Jacksonville game? No, a better pass rush would have, though.
I think a better running game is going to extend drives. It's going to allow them to score more points. I disagree. We'll talk about this in a second, that the thought that Andy Reid just doesn't run the ball enough. I want to get into that. But first, I want to talk a little bit about Breece Hall statistically, because he's never been outside the top 20 backs in yards per route run. He was second overall in 2022 at 2.0. That is an unbelievable number for a running back. In 2023, he was at 1.76. He's been a little bit down the past 2 years. I think some of that is offensive environment. I think
the injury.
The injury, but I think he looks great this year. And I do think he is a top 5 or 6 explosive pass catching running back in the NFL. I think the offensive environment, which has been terrible in New Jersey, basically, but New York has masked that. And I think he would just be a perfect fit for the Chiefs. I think in terms of defensive line availability, you look at Sweat and you're like, I don't know about his personality. Jermaine Johnson for a second, that's too steep. Jalen Phillips is more injury prone than Sammy Watkins. You don't want to go down that lane for a third rounder. I would rather pay a third rounder for Breece Hall than him. And also, like, I hear what you're saying, but if the Chiefs were going to give up a third rounder, I think they might put the franchise tag on Breece Hall. I think they might extend him. I don't think there's any guarantees that they would walk away, because a player like this, they would
You'd have already had to do the franchise tag. You'd have already had to do it after year 3. He's in his 4th year.
No, you're talking about he wasn't a first round pick.
Well, yeah,
talking about
there's no 5th round option. You're talking franchise tag?
I'm talking franchise tag, not 5th year option. I'm talking franchise tag. Franchise tag for a running back would be like what? 12 million, something like that. It's not that crazy to get another year out of him, especially while Chris Jones and maybe even Travis Kelce are still around. Let's talk about the whole Andy Reid of it all, because there seems to be a pretty passionate debate that the problem is that Andy Reid just doesn't give these running backs the ball enough. And I have a hard time believing that one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, and he's not infallible. He can be stubborn. His offense can be stagnant at times, but this is a veteran of 6 Super Bowls. And I just have a hard time believing that in these games he's losing, these big games he's losing, in the Super Bowl or in the playoffs against the Bengals or against the Bills last Sunday, that he's simply sitting there and saying, I'm just not going to give the ball to Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco or Darrell Williams or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I know that would win us the game if I took the ball out of the best player alive's hands and gave it more to these subpar, replacement level, if we're lucky, running backs. I just don't think it's that simple, guys. Their success rate is okay running the ball, but part of that is because defenses don't expect them to run the ball. Not only are they seeing light boxes and sitting back in dime and nickel, these players on the field, they're not even keyed on the run. They're not even thinking about that. So I think if you ramp that number up, I just think the efficiency is going to plummet. That's my personal opinion.
Two things here. One, I see he ran the ball with like Jamal Charles, and he ran it with Brian Westbrook. You know what the difference is? Patrick Mahomes wasn't his quarterback. When Alex Smith is your quarterback, you're going to run the ball and put it in Jamal Charles' hands a lot more. When Patrick's your quarterback, clearly Andy has said, this is the guy we're given all the opportunity to. It makes sense. Also, I'd like to point out, we also don't know how much of these plays, one are RPOs, and then Patrick literally just says, I'm going to pass out of, versus hand the ball off, because we know Patrick's apt to do that. And then 2, how many times at the line of scrimmage, a lot of times just you get 2 play calls, 1 run, 1 pass, and you can check into either one, right? So when you hear like Liz, or whatever Patrick sometimes does, it can be him changing into the other play. Well, I'm going to go ahead and assume here, he's probably changing into a pass more times than not, because we don't see them run the football a ton to begin with. And so I think even some of those times when it might be you can run, you can pass, Patrick is going to change into the pass almost every single time. And I get it. It's good reason. He's the best quarterback on the planet. So you're going to do that. He's always going to think that that's the better opportunity. So we can move on. I just find this so, I find it so hard to believe that folks are this up in arms after just a week ago saying this offense is one of the best in the entire NFL. And now all of a sudden, because you don't trade a 3rd rounder for 8 games of a really good, yet not great, not elite running back, that somehow the Chiefs offense is doomed. I don't get that. That seems just, there's zero nuance in this.
I agree that there's zero nuance. I do think he's an elite pass catcher. I don't know if he's an elite running back, but I do think he offers elite explosive run play ability. And those are the 2 things the Chiefs are lacking. I think we can probably agree on a couple of things. The first is when Chiefs get in the situation where when teams are sitting back in dime and nickel, but the Buffalo Bills played an unreasonable amount of dime against the Chiefs on Sunday, and they weren't worried about the run at all. And they had quarterback spies and mush rushes to contain Patrick Mahomes. And we've seen time and time again, Andy Reid and the Chiefs don't have a pivot. Now, we can argue why that is, if we think Andy Reid just needs to give to the running backs he has more and ride it out, or if we think having a better running back who's kind of an easy button he could just press time and time again, and that could force the defense to change, is the right answer. But it just seems like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Matt Nagy, in those moments, they become shell-shocked, hard word to say, and don't really have an adjustment to make. They just seem like they just kind of are frozen by those circumstances. So the other thing I think is just philosophically, the Chiefs are telling us that they value running backs less than the rest of the league. And when you have the highest drop back rate over expected, that makes a lot of sense. When you have Patrick Mahomes, that makes a lot of sense. But I know allegedly they were interested in Josh Jacobs. That didn't happen. They didn't pay the price to bring in Breece Hall. They've been going with uncoveted free agents and 7th round picks as their running back ever since the CEH bust happened. And I think that Clyde Edwards-Helaire draft pick really shaped and molded their thinking around the running back position, because that was one of the most costly decisions of this entire era from a resource allocation or resource allocation. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Standpoint. And I just think they're really hesitant to go back there. And really overall at the trade deadline, I just think Brett Veach sees he has a 10-year window. As long as 15 is upright, that window is open. That championship window is open. And the worst thing he can do is get over aggressive and make a catastrophic mistake. All he has to do is kind of like play it safe. And I think they might be playing it safe to a fault. Those are just my overarching thoughts. Closing thoughts on the trade deadline, Sterling.
Well, yeah. I mean, playing it safe makes sense to an extent. I get that, because when you look at that, the way you can destroy your development and destroy things going forward is if you have no draft picks, you have no rookie contracts, and now you're overpaying for everyone. You have the highest paid center in football. You have the highest paid guard in football. You have right now one of the highest paid right tackles in football. That contract's coming off. But guess what? Jalen Moore's contract's coming right on the books right after that, right? Yes, you have a rookie left tackle. You have a rookie contract left guard. Those are great, but Patrick's not on a rookie contract. Travis Kelce, not on a rookie contract. Chris Jones, clearly not on a rookie contract. George Karlaftis, a lot of money. Nick Bolton, a lot of money. So you're going to all of a sudden say, well, let's also pay a running back? Like, people don't think the salary cap is real. It is in Kansas City because Clark Hunt does not operate like the Eagles do. They don't. Okay? So I understand people go, well, other teams do it. I get it, but the Chiefs don't. And so that's how we have to operate. So when you see all of these things, all of the money being allocated elsewhere, you can't sit and also pay top dollar for a running back. That's what it comes down to. And that's why I say you're only getting 8 games for a 3rd round draft pick. That's not the allocation that makes sense. There is a larger picture here. Does Breece Hall make this team better this season? Yes, he does. But does that 3rd round pick versus Breece Hall in the long run make more sense allocation wise? Probably not. No, yeah. By the way, I see Patrick's going to restructure. He has to restructure next year, or it's going to be a disaster. It's like $73 million. He's going to restructure, but it's still not a rookie contract. That's the only reason why the Broncos got away with the Russell Wilson contract, because they hit on Bo Nix. It's not just a case of, well, he can restructure. Yeah, but it's still not a rookie contract. That's why it was so easy. When you see the majority of teams back in the day before Patrick became Patrick and kind of the AFC with Tom Brady, that's why the Seattle Seahawks were good for a while. They had a rookie contract with Russell Wilson. What happened when they had to pay him? Buns. When he went to Denver, what happened? Because he's getting paid much money. That team was buns. Rookie contract is, for a quarterback, is the greatest gift to a team that you can possibly have. It's what can you do once you get those guys on the second contract?
And really, outside of Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady taking kind of team-friendly deals, most of the teams that win Super Bowls have been in better, rookie situations, right? Or better situations. So, that's one of the reasons that Joe Burrow team made the Super Bowl, because Joe Burrow's contract is small. They splurged on free agent acquisitions over the defense. And once he and the receivers got paid, they had no money for the defense. Now the defense is terrible. I guess the counters here are that the Chiefs put themselves in this predicament by, I know we all like Nohl Williams and Jeffrey Bossa and Ashton Gelati and Jalen Royals, but they couldn't have picked a running back in one of those spots. And then the other thing is, okay, maybe we disagree on Breece Hall and how elite he is, but what about like a 6th rounder for Jerome Ford, or just a moderate upgrade for a dual purpose running back?
I don't think Ford makes this. I don't think Ford's better than Kareem Hunt at this point. I don't.
He's certainly a better pass catcher.
Yeah. I don't think Ford's moving the needle in this room.
All right. I just think that it's almost laughable. Like I have been traditionally a running backs don't matter guy, but I just think they've gone too far with it. My
point is it's going to have to almost be a draft pick because they have so much money spent on other positions right now.
Yes, and I think you make a very good point about Clark Hunt. And I think Clark Hunt is a good owner. I think we could have a lot worse. He has hired really bright football people and he has empowered them and he keeps his ego in check, right? I feel like he has done well there. He found Andy Reid. He allowed him to hire Brett Veach. They've made pretty good decisions there. However, you're right. He's not the most aggressive owner. And I think sometimes it's unfair to Brett Veach when we say, why can't Brett Veach be more like Howie Roseman? Well, because Howie Roseman has Jeffrey Lurie saying, do whatever you want. I will cash the checks. I will make the cash liquid to erase your mistakes. We're going to be the most aggressive team in the NFL. And I want to win more than anybody in the NFL. And I give Jeffrey Lurie a hell of a lot of credit for that. And I think Howie Roseman, he might be the best GM in the league. I'm not even disputing that. He is up there. But we don't talk about how much he is empowered by ownership versus other GMs.
Well, again, because they drafted, what's the guy's name? Jalen Rieger over Justin Jefferson. And Lurie made it okay by saying, okay, we'll trade for A.J. Brown and we'll give him a ridiculously large contract. It like that's things that you're not going to see in Kansas City.
It gets worse than that too, because they actually wanted to sign Allen Robinson. And when he went to the Rams, their backup choice was, oh, I guess we'll trade for A.J. Brown. So, you know, they had J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Nobody's perfect, right? And I think sometimes with the Eagles, we don't look at the whole situation. The other situation with the Eagles is they've had a couple down years. And when you have a couple down years, you get better draft picks. You're able to do some trades. The Chiefs do not have down years. They always draft in the bottom four. And particularly with the defensive line, I think it is really hard to find quality pass rushers when you're drafting at the end of each round. I think that is kind of the existential question facing Brett Veach and this team is with Chris Jones kind of sunsetting and George Karlaftis, he's fine. I don't think he's a bad value, but I don't think the bull case scenario for George Karlaftis becoming the player we all hoped he was going to be, he's not going to be a number one pass rusher on a defensive line. That is just not, I just think that's not even a timeline that's possible. So I think they're going to have to find that guy for the defense to get to where they want it to be, or it's going to be a 2018 situation again, where it's going to be all offense carrying a bad defense. One last note here. I listened to you guys yesterday, and I was asking myself the same question about Trent McDuffie. Should the Chiefs maybe tag and trade Trent McDuffie? Because honestly, I like Sauce Gardner, and I think Sauce Gardner is going to be great for Lou Anarumo in Indy. But 2 firsts and A.D. Mitchell, who I think has the upside to be a pretty good receiver, is an outlandish price. And if the Chiefs can get anything close to that, man, they are so good at drafting cornerbacks that you would have to heavily consider that.
Oh, yeah. I think two firsts in a player is I think you almost have to take it. And I love Trent McDuffie. I think he's a top 5 cornerback, top 3 cornerback in the NFL. I just don't know how you turn that down, especially again with success in the secondary. What you'd probably have to do is pay Jalen Watson, which would be probably half, if not more than less than half, however you want to word that. Then 2 Watsons and then maybe another player equal a McDuffie contract. You probably have to do it. You're going to have to then say, hey, Chris Jones, how he's fallen off this season, unless that reverts back or bounces back. If he keeps playing like this, you're saying, well, man, maybe we can use those and package it up and move up and draft a game-changing defensive lineman in the draft, because you're going to have to do something. Because the way this D-line is constructed right now, with Chris Jones playing like this is so unsustainable. It puts so much pressure on Spags. If Spags does not have an A-plus game plan, or if Drew Tranquil has a bad game, or someone in the secondary has a bad game, this defense just is not good enough because you can't wash it away. When you have a great pass rusher, that helps your defense entirely, because a great pass rusher affects everything. A bad pass rush also affects everything in a negative way.
I got to be honest, though. I really question the ability of this front office to draft and then develop defensive line talent. Chris Jones was a John Dorsey pick, right? So if you look at the track record of Brett Veach on the defensive line, yeah, I like Karlaftis. I think Mike Dano is a good value pick. Maybe even Charles Omenihu was a decent signing. I was clamoring for the signing, and he got hurt, and we never know. I mean, maybe he's a different player right now if he doesn't blow out his ACL. But FAU, right? Breland speaks. There's a track record of misses and early misses at that. So I'm just a little bit worried as to whether they can use those draft picks to find the right guy. And maybe it's just a byproduct of where they draft, but I'd almost rather them trade for a guy or go the free agent route than try to draft and develop a defensive line. I mean, some of this probably has to fall on Joe Cullen too, right? The defensive line coach. I think it's sort of a systemic deal where you can't just blame one guy. Steve Spagnuolo also has to get some of the blame because Joshua Uche is rocking it in Philadelphia. And he just determined, hey, this guy, it's like the whiplash thing, not my tempo. This guy doesn't have the body I like. He doesn't have the playing style I like. I like power defensive ends. I'm not going to play his ass. That looks stubborn in retrospect. It looks like a situation where the left hand, Brett Veach, wasn't talking to the right hand, Steve Spagnuolo, and they wasted a draft pick. And I think there is some frustration that you trade for Uche, you trade for Hopkins, you trade for Kadarius Toney, who I know a lot of people are saying Kadarius Toney, third-round pick. Well, Kadarius Toney had more time left on his contract and a fifth-year option. So
yeah,
apples to oranges.
Years of control for a wide receiver is a lot different than 8 games of a running back. It's just the value is going to be drastically different.
Yeah, I mean, look at Rashid Shaheed, who is I really like Rashid Shaheed, but he's a lesser player probably than Breece Hall. But he got a 4th and a 5th because of the position he plays and how valuable it is and how much having a field stretcher like that's going to open up the running game. So anyway, the Chiefs have some decisions to make. I think they're going to be kind of at a crossroads next season. But this season, I still feel pretty good. Let's get into Hot Take Kingdom. This week's Hot Take Kingdom is the Chiefs will run the table after the bye week and go undefeated over the remaining 8 games. Welcome to the kingdom. I can already tell Sterling doesn't like this one because there wasn't a lot of bounce. He wasn't dancing. He wasn't moving.
Bounce. I saw what it is beforehand, and I'm no bounce. I'm even more less bounce. I'm just a big fan of oxymorons today, apparently, because you can't have that conversation with the Chiefs not getting Breece Hall and then have this as your hot take. So I'm ready. You bring it to me, and I am going to have some fun.
They call it Hot Take Kingdom because the takes are scorching hot. For new listeners, Hot Take Kingdom is one of our oldest segments. I throw out a hot take and build the case. Then Sterling either enters the kingdom or rejects the arguments. I do think they probably should have done something with Breece Hall. I think sometimes turbocharging an offense is the best way to help a defense that has some struggles. They didn't do that, and we've seen them have running back rooms like this before and still win Super Bowls. So just because it isn't the most optimal path in my eyes doesn't mean that they aren't the team best equipped to come out of the AFC and that they aren't equipped to kind of run the table here. One of the most exciting things to me about this team is we've barely seen Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, and Xavier Worthy together. But we've never seen those guys together with Josh Simmons and Isaiah Pacheco. And this offense has never been fully assembled in the way it was designed. And we're about to see that outside of the break. And I think Josh Simmons makes a hell of a difference because if you look at Patrick Mahomes, it's not just the play, it's the body language, it's how long he holds on to the ball, it's kind of like efficiency and all that. When he has a guy like Eric Fisher protecting his blind side, Josh Simmons especially now, and even Orlando Brown Jr. You can have your opinion about Orlando Brown Jr., but Patrick won an MVP with him. He looked very comfortable with Orlando. And I think the merry-go-round that they've had the last few years with Donovan Smith, Wanye Morris, Kingsley Suamataia, DJ Humphries, and Joe Thuney, Patrick has had happy feet. He's held on to the ball too long. He looks frustrated. At times he just doesn't look right when he doesn't trust his left tackle. So I think Josh Simmons coming back is kind of like the biggest trade deadline acquisition you could make. I know that's not actually what's happening, but he hasn't been on the field for a month. It will be 5 weeks by the time he's back against the Broncos. And when I'm looking at this offense, man, it's so much better than last year. They essentially
how are they better than last year without Breece Hall, Adam?
Just because they don't have Breece Hall doesn't mean they're not better than last year.
So it wasn't the issue. Okay,
I want them to be a super team offensively. I want them to be the best offense in the league by leaps and bounds. And I thought they had the opportunity to have like a greatest show on turf level offense, like 99 Rams. That's what they could have done with Breece Hall. And just because they didn't do that doesn't mean they still can't have the best offense. It just means that in terms of their running backs generating explosive plays and yards over expected, they're a bit limited there. But I think they can still have a good success rate. Now let's run through the remaining schedule really quickly. At Denver off a bye. Denver is not off a bye. They play tomorrow night against the Raiders. So that's a disadvantage. And also their best player, I think unquestionably their best player, Patrick Surtain, is out. That's a big loss when you're facing this fleet of Chiefs receivers that looks like the best one they've had since, I don't know, at least 2019, if not ever, in terms of depth. Then they have the Colts at home. And I really respect the Colts. I was high on the Colts coming into the season because of Shane Steichen and all the talent they have on offense and Lou Anarumo calling the defense. I predicted them to win the AFC South, but I don't think they're a true Super Bowl contender. I just don't. I just don't think they have the quarterback to duel with a Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen when it's the fourth quarter and you need your quarterback to put the team on their back and go get buckets. So I think they can beat the Colts, especially at Arrowhead. Then they go down to Dallas and play the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Monday night, the Cowboys made a mockery of themselves. Jerry Jones is teasing these big trades. They go on national TV on Monday Night Football and get their ass kicked by a Jacoby Brissett-led team. I am not afraid of the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to go in there on Thanksgiving. They're going to get the stuffing. Then we have the Texans at home. That offense scares nobody. That offense is broken. That offensive line might be the worst in football. I respect the hell out of their defense. I just don't know about DeMeco Ryans as a head coach. I would take him in a New York Minute to be a defensive coordinator. I think he's a little bit of a Romeo Cornell, if you will. Then you have the Chargers at home. Joe Alt is having season-ending ankle surgery. So Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, their starting tackles, are out. Amarian Hampton, will he even be back? I'm not afraid of Kamani Vidal. I think we can get the Chargers. Next up is at Titans, arguably the worst team in the league. What more needs to be said? Broncos at Arrowhead. Broncos are going to be a tough opponent. They will have Surtain back, but that's at home. And then you finish with the Raiders, who are one of the worst teams in the league. They just got rid of Jacoby Myers, who I think is going to be a big loss for that offense. He's a really good player. I look at this schedule and you have Chiefs fans saying they're going to miss the playoffs. You have opposing fans saying they're going to miss the playoffs. I have a hard time finding two losses. Honestly, I can see the one loss being at Denver, man, but I think they have a real shot to run the table. This is a team that almost won every game a season ago. And if you look at their losses, the Jags game is pretty fluky, right? Almost won that game. They played the Chargers without Xavier Worthy on foreign soil. It's a kind of fluky game. And they were in the Eagles game, even without Rice and Worthy. If it wasn't for that Travis Kelce drop, they might have won that game.
Dude, I hate that because last year you could say if they didn't block that field goal, they lose. If they didn't do this, they lose. I hate that argument. And I also hate saying injuries. I have pushed back on injuries dramatically because every team has injuries. I hate it when people say, well, the Chiefs only beat the Lions because of injuries. They only beat the Ravens because of injuries. Every team has injuries. It's football. You're never going to be fully healthy. It's not Madden with the injuries turned off. It's why depth is so important. So I never like when folks would use the Rice and Worthy. Yeah, they make a huge difference. They're great players. We've seen the offense change, but it's also fair to say every team has injuries. The Chiefs, for the most part, have been actually fairly healthy this year. They've had some injury luck go their way this year in the grand scheme of things. They haven't lost both their tackles to injuries and Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, right? Like, I mean,
they have a good training staff, though. I think that is part of the conversation here, because this keeps happening to the Ravens. This keeps happening to Joe Burrow. This keeps happening to the Chargers. The Chiefs training staff and their coaching staff, they're doing something right. They wouldn't be playing Mahomes down by 31 like Dan Quinn was with Jaden Daniels, you know?
Well, I don't disagree, and they wouldn't be down 31, but yes, 100%. I agree with your point, but injuries still happen in the NFL. It's the NFL. It's football. It's going to happen. What it comes down to me, the Chiefs, I do not think go undefeated. 8-0. Can they? Yeah, they can. Will they? I would not bet on that. I think 6-2. I think 6-2 is fair. I think that includes some of the unpredictables. That does include, hey, maybe they fall to the Colts. I think they beat the Broncos out of the bye. I think they have to beat the Broncos out of the bye. It's not like this season's over, obviously, because I hate when people say it's a must-win game. Well, no, because they could still lose that game and win out, and they're still going to be in the playoffs and a highly touted team come playoff time. But it does become very precarious, and you probably aren't winning the AFC West if you lose to the Broncos. You really need to win both against the Broncos and that game against the Chargers. Those three games matter more than any other games. Those three matter the most. What it comes down to for me, this feels like a team that probably goes 6-2. We'll see some roller coaster aspects where I think the offense looks really good. The rest of the 8 games where the defense is going to have some inconsistencies. I think the Texans game is tougher than people think because CJ Stroud with time is very good. And I know that offensive line for the Texans is bad, but the defensive line for the Chiefs might be worse. And so when that's the case, if CJ Stroud has time, it's not just a layup. It's not a gimme because that Texans defense is the best in the NFL. The Broncos are probably second. Texans are first. That Texans defense is ridiculous.
I'd probably flip them, but your point stands.
So for me, I think you almost need to go 11-6. So you almost have to go 6-2. You can go 10-7 and have a coin flip, I think, of making it into the playoffs in that final wild card spot. The issue is you don't have the tiebreaker over the Bills. You don't have the tiebreaker over the Jaguars, which is really important. You don't have the tiebreaker as it stands right now over the Chargers. Like the teams right now in the 5, 6, 7 spot, that's why right now the Chiefs are the 8 seed. So I think to me, 6-2 is realistic. I think 6-2 needs to happen. I am still nervous about a few games that I don't think are just layups. I think that Texans game is one that's definitely not a layup. The Cowboys game, you don't know which Cowboys team you're going to get. Right now, I'm sitting here going, yeah, you should dismantle the Cowboys like you did. Was that 2 years ago on Christmas? I mean, not Christmas, on Thanksgiving. Wasn't that what it was? Or around then? It was around Thanksgiving. But you just never know what Dak Prescott you're going to get. What CeeDee Lamb and DK Metcalf, or not DK Metcalf, George Pickens you're going to get. You never know with that Cowboys team. They're bipolar.
You know about their defense, though. You know the defense is going to be bad.
Sure. Again, the point I'm trying to make is 6-2. If you're a Chiefs fan right now, if you told me the Chiefs go 6-2, I would lock that in a heartbeat because that means the Chiefs are for sure in the playoffs. That's what it comes down to. Do you think, I guess, would you take 6-2 right now? Would you settle out of court and say they will not go any better, but they'll go 6-2? It
depends who they lose to. If it's 6-2 and they lose these next 2 games, I would not take that. But generally, I would take that. A couple of thoughts here, closing. The first is, let's acknowledge that the Kansas City Chiefs traditionally treat the regular season a little differently than most teams. I think they treat it as a bit of a laboratory. I don't want to say they go vanilla, but I think the Bills threw the kitchen sink at the Chiefs more than the Chiefs threw the kitchen sink at the Bills. I think that's fair to say. I also think the Chiefs are very, very good at in-season adjustments, like out of the bye.
I'm not worried about the Bill. I'm not worried about the playoffs, by the way. Like, if the Chiefs make the playoffs, I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh no, I'm worried." No, the Chiefs are going to be the favorites in any game. They could be the 6 seed, 7 seed, and they'll probably be the favorite in the AFC betting wise. Like, I'm not worried about the playoffs. The reason why I had concerns with the Bills game is not because they wanted it more, or any of that stuff. I think some of that's a little overblown. The reason why I'd be worried is because they got their asses kicked in the trenches. Again, Josh Allen had time to kill the chicken, take the wing off, bread it, double dip it, throw it on the grill, let it cook, let it cool, make his own blue cheese, take the gloves off, wash your hands so you don't get salmonella, and then eat the wings before he got any pressure on him. That would be my concern.
And do the dishes.
And do the dishes.
And do the dishes. I guess what I'm saying is I think they might be a little uncharacteristically aggressive with their play calling and their game plans and their designs coming out of the break because of the situation they're in. They're kind of backed into a corner. And if you look at this next 2-game stretch as a mini season, almost like a playoffs, if they can win at Denver and beat the Colts at home, and you just take those remaining 6 games, you can really see them going 7-1 or 8-0. Because I know we kind of differ on the Texans, but I just think they're going to get the Cowboys. They're going to get the Chargers at home. The Titans and Raiders, forget about it.
It's the NFL, though, man. I mean, it is the NFL. How many times are you like, yeah, that's an easy win, and the next thing you know, okay, why did that team win, or why was that a 3-point game? We've seen it so many times. How many times have the Chiefs lost to the Titans when you're like, that's Ryan Tannehill? Oh my gosh. I get this year's different because it's not Derrick Henry and it's Cam Ward. I'm not saying the Titans specifically. I'm just giving you an example of a team. Like the Chiefs lost to the Raiders before when the Chiefs were vastly better than the Raiders. It's any given Sunday. I hate chalking it up as an auto win. I mean, like college football, a lot of times, yeah, when Bama plays Troy, I'm going to go ahead and just say that's a win, right? But when it's the NFL and you're playing any team, the Jets have a win. The Saints have a win. So I can't say any given Sunday, yeah, I get it. They didn't play the Chiefs in those games. But if the Chiefs play the Saints, let's say 17 times, they should go 17-0. They'll be favorited be favorites in every single game, but they'll probably end up going 15-2 or 16-1. That's the nature of it.
Yeah. I think the Chiefs were on the lucky end of variance last season in these close games. They've been a little unlucky this season. I do think the Chiefs still know how to win close games. I do think they are a different team when they get into take care of business mode, and they're going to come out of the bye with a sense of urgency that they usually don't have in the regular season because they've been backed into a corner. I hear your point. The Carolina Panthers went into Lambeau Field and beat the Packers last week. Anything can happen any given Sunday is a saying for a reason. I just feel really good about the Chiefs. I think my whole thing about the trade deadline, and I think they definitely could have added pass rush help too, or even a run clogger at defensive tackle to limit Chris Jones' snaps, because one thing that they could do to help Chris Jones is he's too old to play as much as he does. That was the case last year. I'm worried that them playing him more snaps than any defensive tackle in the league last year they're feeling the repercussions of that now, because the guys that were playing as much as him last season at defensive tackle, they were all 27 and younger. He's a 30-year-old guy playing way too many snaps, and I'm just worried that it's worn him down and affected his explosiveness. He looks tired out there. I heard you talking about him standing up, and his pad level looks higher than I've ever seen it. I know we're kind of like getting off on a tangent, but it's one of the issues the Chiefs currently face.
Yeah.
Well, I could not convince you to come in the castle walls, but I think that nonetheless, we both have a feeling that the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs. They're going to win 11 games minimum. And when it comes to the playoff situation itself, no matter if they're the 7th seed, the 6th seed, or the 1 seed, they're going to be the prohibitive favorites in the AFC. We're going to feel good about them once again making the conference championship and probably even making the Super Bowl. I think these takes that the Chiefs aren't going to make the playoffs and the dynasty is over. I mean, if you're a Chiefs fan, like, kind of shame on you. I mean, after the situation that happened on Netflix on Christmas Day when the Chiefs lost to a team that wasn't completing passes and came back and won a Super Bowl, we've seen this movie before.
And
We've
that's
seen it.
kind of my main takeaway of nuance and calm down and the fire Brett Veach and the season's over and what are we doing? Like, that's why I do want to have at least some sort of nuance here. This team had gone 11-6 and won a Super Bowl. You're right. That Christmas Day, they got destroyed. Season's over. They win a Super Bowl. Just a week ago, heading into the Bills game, this is the best offense of the NFL. It's just the most balanced Chiefs team we have ever seen in our lives. And then they lose by 7 points to the Bills. Season's over. Like, let's have some sort of nuance here. Let's not go from hyperbolic one side to hyperbolic the other side. This is still a really good team. This is still a team that has the potential to be great. And if you look at the national media, what's even funny, I've seen so many national media members still putting the Chiefs at the best or second best team in the entire NFL. Like, let's pump the brakes just a little here. Let's not go over the edge. I still believe in this Chiefs team. Chiefs Kingdom, you should still believe in this Chiefs team. 6-2, get to the playoffs. They'll find a way to get it done.
Yeah, dude. My old man is pretty panicked about their current situation. And I'm just like, why? They've lost, what are they now? 1-5 against Buffalo in the regular season?
They do this every year, yes.
They do this every year. If we go back to 2019 and we think about that game, they dropped the Colts when Patrick's leg got stomped by his own lineman, and then Will Fuller went crazy against them, and they lost to the Texans, and we're like, what's going on with the Chiefs? They go on to win the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure they were 8-5 one year. They lost to the Bills. They're 8-6. They go on to win the Super Bowl. I mean, we have so many instances where the Chiefs didn't look right in the regular season, but we know Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, they figured out Patrick Mahomes plays his best football in January and February. So if you're worrying right now, you're just really you're having like a short-term memory when it comes to the history of this Chiefs dynasty, the Mahomes era. We know they're going to right the ship because we've seen it so many times before. I'm telling you guys, don't worry. If 2 weeks from now they lose in Denver, which I don't think they're going to do, we know how good they are off the bye, we can have a different conversation. But for now, don't panic. That's all we've got, guys. Thanks to the chat. You guys always bring it. We appreciate that. If you dig Arrowhead Addict, here's how you can help our community grow. Subscribe here on YouTube. That way you never miss a series or short. You can leave a 5-star Spotify or Apple review over on those audio platforms. That really helps us out. And if you do that on Apple, which would be awesome, by the way, you can leave a question and we will answer it on Thursday's OG Hour. Lastly, check out the mothership. Matt, Connor, and the gang have arrowheadaddict.com rocking. Join us live next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. Until then, go Chiefs.